as it travels around. And I thought, well, okay, we're getting somewhere. I don't know where, but we're getting somewhere. And so I thought, well, let me back up a second and let me put some random artwork back into this environment instead of just drawing a circle, so that I can really start to visualize what's happening if I were mapping other forms into this environment. And I'm not really happy with this piece, because if you really think about it, even though the math is completely different, it still kind of feels like the Orbit program, right? Well, you just showed that one, like, you know, a couple slides back. So in one sense, I kind of feel like this is not successful because it's just different code to kind of execute a behavior that I had already worked on. So I have to think, well, how can I make this different? And so finally I said, well, okay, let me just start painting this stuff. So now I throw the curves, the artwork along the curves, and I'm painting them as they move along the curve. Again, not really that crazy about it. It still needs to go somewhere. But I have to remind myself constantly that it's not about big drastic changes, it's about small incremental changes. And I realized that this artwork is getting painted at 100% alpha as it moves along the curve. And what would happen if I just dropped the transparency down to 2%? If I drop the transparency down to 2%, I then get these like really soft cloud patterns. And we'll let this run for a second. So this is the same exact environment, but just kicking the transparency down to 2%. And at that point I thought, cool, I think I got something. I think I got something that's workable. So now that I have something that generates a specific aesthetic that I think is interesting, I have to try to control this a little bit. So I thought, okay, let me start to move the anchors and handles around, and eventually I get here. Just a moment, I'm making graphic design. Please, quiet. Now, so this is what it makes, and again, because it's random, there's a structure, but if I like this, then cool, I can capture it. I can actually output this to PostScript and open this up in Illustrator, and I have assets. If I don't like it, I actually can run the environment again, and I'd get a completely different result. That would mean that the previous composition that you just saw, you're never going to get again. There are so many values in this environment that if you like something, you better capture it because you'll never get it again. So what this means is that I spend maybe a few days writing a program. I spend a few days figuring out artwork to map inside this program, and then I spend like a month going, do it again, and then going, oh, that's nice, take it, do it again, do it again, do it again, and living with this work. So in one sense, I get to be the programmer, the artist, and the critic, and get to choose sort of what lives and what dies. So this is one that I did towards the end that I thought really came out quite pretty. Now, I should note that this does find its way into Illustrator, which looks something like this. And if you ever open, do we have any Illustrator people?